Hello guys, and welcome to the latest episode of Mr. Oshodi's Snapchat Science. Now today what we're going to be looking at is gaseous exchange in humans. Now, by the end of this video, we want to be able to one, describe the human breathing system, okay? We then want to be able to explain the role of specific muscles in allowing air to either enter or leave the lungs, okay? And then lastly, what we want to be able to do is evaluate the use of artificial breathing aids. So let's get into it. Now, before we look at ventilation and before we look at breathing, it's really important that you familiarise yourself with the structure of the human breathing system. So use this moment to pause the video and either use BBC Bite Size, your textbook, or this diagram if the labels are clear enough, to familiarise yourself with the breathing system and the structures involved in a breathing system. Now, if we look at the breathing system, today we're going to look at three key parts. We're going to look at the lungs, of course, okay? But we're also going to look at two main muscles. Or sets of muscles, shall I say. So the first one we're going to look at is the intercostal muscles. Now the intercostal muscles are in between the rib cage, okay? And the second muscle we're going to look at is the diaphragm, which is just below the rib cage. So, when we're talking about the process of ventilation, ventilating the lungs or breathing, okay, we're really looking at pressure changes. The ventilation or breathing process is really only caused by the differences in pressure outside of the body and inside of the body, okay? And that's what we're going to look at today. And it's these pressure changes which are controlled by those two key sets of muscles, which are known as our intercostal muscles and our diaphragm. Now our diaphragm, as we was mentioning before, is a sheet of muscle, okay? Now when our diaphragm is relaxed, our diaphragm looks like this. It's sort of dome-shaped. Now our diaphragm separates our thorax, so our upper half of our body, to our abdomen, which is the lower half, okay? Now, this thorax, okay, is where obviously the lungs are enclosed. Now, the intercostal muscles which we spoke about are the muscles which literally lie in between our rib cage, okay? So let's get right into it. Let's look at the process of inhalation and exhalation. So, the first thing we're going to look at, inhalation. When we inhale, our intercostal muscles, which are in between our rib cages, don't forget, okay, move our rib cage, they contract. So they move our rib cage up and outwards. At the same time, our diaphragm, which is just below our rib cage, contracts. And don't forget we said, when our diaphragm is relaxed, it looks dome-shaped. So when it contracts, it flattens. Now this movement upwards and outwards of the rib cage and a flattening of our diaphragm allows the volume inside of the chest to increase. Now because the volume inside of the chest increases, it means that the pressure inside of the chest has now lowered. And there's a lower pressure inside of the chest than there is outside of the body. And that difference in pressure is what causes air to rush into the lungs, or inhalation for us, okay? Now when we exhale, we're looking at the opposite of inhalation. So the intercostal muscles, they now relax, okay? So they move the rib cage down and inwards, okay? And our diaphragm also relaxes and it returns to its dome shape. Now as you can see by what I just done, okay? This causes a decrease in the volume of the chest, okay? And therefore, there's now a higher pressure inside than outside. And therefore, that causes air to rush out due to the pressure changes, okay? So what I would suggest at this point is you pause the video and really familiarise yourself with these key steps in inhalation and exhalation. So, hopefully you pause the video. So let's look at inhalation in slightly at a different angle, and you yourselves can apply it to exhalation. When we look at inhalation, the intercostal muscles, as we said, contract, pulling the ribcage up and out, okay? The diaphragm flattens, okay? And that causes the volume of the thorax to increase. This volume of the thorax then causes the pressure of the thorax to decrease, okay? And therefore air enters the lungs. It's vice versa for exhalation, okay? So make sure you get these key steps ingrained, because it's something that could definitely come up in your B3 exam. Now, what I want you guys to do is pause the video for 10 minutes and just check that you can explain what goes on at each of these key areas of the breathing system at each, either inhalation or exhalation. So for example, what are the intercostal muscles doing in inhalation? What are the intercostal muscles doing during exhalation? Same for the diaphragm, okay, etc, etc. Pause the video for 10 minutes or however long it takes you, okay, and the answers will be on the other side of your pause. Okay, so hopefully you paused the video. So let's now get on and see the answers and see if you've got these correct. Hopefully you've done so. So guys, what I want you guys to do is take a look at the answers, self-assess, pause your video and look at where you may have gone wrong, and if you haven't gone wrong, give yourself a massive high five. So guys, what we want to look at now is really our last learning objective. We want to look at artificial breathing aids. Now, by artificial breathing aids, what we mean is a piece of apparatus that is used to help a human being breathe. Quite simply, an artificial breathing aid. Now, we're going to look at two types: negative pressure ventilators and positive pressure ventilators. Now, with our negative pressure ventilators, the patient is placed in an airtight machine from the neck down. Okay, so the patient, as you can see in this small video, you can Google negative pressure ventilators. The patient is encased in a large metal casing, okay, and that metal casing causes a vacuum to be created around the thorax. Now, because there's a vacuum created around the thorax, it leads to the expansion of the thorax because there's a decrease in pressure, all right? Now, what that results in is air to be drawn into the lungs. So essentially, the negative pressure ventilator is helping the patient to breathe, okay? It's causing the patient to breathe, okay? The ventilator also will bring about certain changes to allow the patient to exhale, okay? So, the opposite to negative, okay, we're going to look at positive now. So, we'll have positive pressure ventilators. Now, with positive pressure ventilators, air is literally forced into the lungs. Now, it could be through a tube which is inserted into the trachea, okay? Now, as the ventilator is pumping or is pumped, okay, the lungs will inflate, okay? When the ventilator stops, the lungs will deflate, okay? And due to the elasticity of the lungs and due to the elasticity of the diaphragm, okay, the chest wall will cause exhalation, okay? So guys, what I want you guys to do is look at the advantages and disadvantages of either inhalation or exhalation. So, what we want to look at is the advantages of negative pressure first of all. Now, the advantages of negative pressure ventilators are the fact that they've got rid of many polio cases throughout the years. Now, the advantages of positive pressure ventilators is they're useful during operations in which surgeons need access to the body, okay? And they're also very effective in ventilating the lungs. Now, if we look at the disadvantages of the two, the disadvantages of negative pressure ventilators are the fact that the patient is confined to the machine. Don't forget, hopefully you Googled an image of a negative pressure ventilator, okay? The patient was encased inside a large metal casing, so it means their quality of life is affected. They're no longer able to move and go about day-to-day chores as they usually would. It also means that the vacuum which is created on the whole body essentially, because only the neck is out of the ventilator, can lead to problems such as blood pooling and in the upper and lower parts of the body. Now, the issue with positive ventilators or positive pressure ventilators is the fact that long-term ventilation requires the tube to be surgically inserted into the trachea in the neck. Now, what that means is it obviously causes discomfort, okay, and other issues with the patient. So guys, hopefully by the end of the video, you're able to describe the structure of the human breathing system, you're able to explain how specific muscles cause air to enter and leave the lung, and you're able to evaluate the use of artificial breathing aids. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and revise. Mr. Oshodi, signing out.